case in Mexico, it is about $1 cheaper south of the border. That's because the government there subsidizes gas. Well, should we do the same? Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Keenan. Welcome to Cashing In. Let's get the stock smarts. Our Cashing In crew this week, the gang's all here. Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Hoenig, Tracy Burns, and Jonas Max Ferris, along with Democratic strategist Sasha Burns and Cliff Schecter. He is also the author of The Real McCain. And welcome, everybody. Okay, Cliff, we finally found a reason to want to go into Mexico instead of get out of Mexico. You think that the U.S. should actually start to subsidize gas as well?
I do. I think that it's an important idea. I think, look, you've got oil companies that are making, $10 billion a quarter. I think you very easily could take some of that money in windfall taxes, and you can help the American people. We need consumers right now. Look, we're losing jobs. Our economy's hurting. And I know out here where I am in the middle of the country in Ohio, people are really hurting because of the high gas prices. And so why not, do something that would be compassionate but would also be smart for the economy?
Jonathan, Apple's doing real well, too. Maybe they could subsidize my kid's next computer.
Well, maybe Cliff can spearhead that effort for you there, Terry. I mean, the problem with subsidies...
I'll help you out if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm sure, right. Well, there's not a dime of mine on Cliff that you don't want to get your grubby little hands on, but the problem with subsidies is that they encourage consumption. And that's exactly, what you don't want. You don't want to encourage people to consume more than they can afford. And what happens in all these countries like Taiwan and Indonesia is that the government subsidizes it until the cost goes so high they can't afford it anymore. Then you've got riots in the streets. So, no,
well, believe me, I don't want my grubby little hands anywhere near you. I can promise you that.
Okay, whoa. Okay, Sasha. Well, one reason a lot of these countries, such as Mexico, Venezuela, subsidize their gasoline for their people, first of all, is to keep them happy in otherwise not so pleasant circumstances, and secondly, because they're net exporters of crude.
Well, look, you can call it a government subsidy, or you change the name and call it a tax cut or a $600 check in the mail, and all of a sudden you have a lot of supporters on it. The truth is, while perhaps not ideal, the government does this all the time on the other side, bailing out Chrysler, bailing out the airline industries. The point is to protect the economy. Every 1 cent increase at the pump is $1 billion out of overall spending. And what we need right now is consumer spending to jumpstart the economy. And that's what we're doing with these $600 checks in the mail. Now, people are spending them all on gas, so it's already happening.
Yeah, and all the while, gas just keeps going up and up and up, despite the $170 billion in these rebate checks.
But people aren't spending them on gas. I mean, we saw retail sales up. Apparently, they're out shopping for shoes. And you know what?
Well,
I think these
isn't that what we're supposed to do to bump up the economy?
Subsidizing gas is putting a Band-Aid on a brain tumor. It makes no sense. Leave the government out of this. Stop talking windfall tax profits. Stop taking money from the oil companies that are just doing their job and making money for their shareholders. There's a bigger problem here, and it's much bigger than subsidizing, giving everybody $1 on gas, because to Jonathan's point, people are just going to drive more, and the problem's just going to get bigger.
They're not just doing their jobs when gas is getting up to $4 a gallon. They're not just doing their jobs.
It's not Exxon's fault that gas is $4. It is not Exxon's fault.
When these guys are retiring with $400 million packages,
but you guys don't. You guys, you Democrat strategists don't make any sense about the economy. A tax subsidy, a subsidy for gas is the biggest windfall to the oil industry I could possibly imagine.
Exactly.
You're talking about the government giving money to the big oil so people can drive big cars at lower price. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard.
What it is,
a Democrat should be for a gas tax increase, which is good for the environment and cuts into oil profits.
Absolutely wrong. It's a short-term fix until we can do something more long-term, like perhaps
But that's the problem. All these short-term fixes are getting us nowhere fast.
Who cares about going out and exploring other energy possibilities instead of just kissing Saudi sheiks every time they come to town?
Wayne,
how about that?
Why don't you weigh in here? A voice of reason.
I find both sides of this a little ridiculous. I mean, the government is already taxing gas at an enormous rate. They do not have to give a subsidy and turn around and have another bureaucratic group doing a subsidy after they're taking the money from taxes, and then they're going to turn around and subsidize with it. That's just totally nuts. All they have to do is cut the federal tax on gasoline if they want to. That will help the oil prices a lot. Then the federal government, who wastes all the money anyway, you talk about oil companies, it's the feds who are wasting the money. I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah,
so just cut the federal tax.
So Wayne,
that is the point.
Let him finish.
By the way,
Wayne, let him finish.
Go ahead, Wayne.
You don't call it a subsidy.
Every day.
Go ahead,
Wayne.
Sasha.
Why-
You don't call it a subsidy, you call it a tax cut, and suddenly it's
Right.
fine. The
Exactly.
point is, this is not a real market, so you can't look at it as a real market. The price of crude oil went up 50% in the last 6 months. That's not a real market.
Well,
What
it's
is
a
it?
real market when
Yeah.
it happens in housing. It's a real market when it happens to your stock portfolio.
I
And you
wouldn't
know,
look
it's a
at
real
housing
market
as a
when you
great
guys bail
example
out
of
Bear
what we should be
Stearns.
doing.
Wayne?
When you guys have no problem bailing out Bear Stearns, when you have no problem bailing out the Enrons, you know, if for the guys who are
What
doing
guys?
terrific, for
Enron wasn't
the $1
bailed
million CEOs, you'll bail them out in a New York minute, but you won't take care of
All
regular
due-
people who are hurting out here.
The
ahead.
Exxon,
All
you're
due
trying to
respect,
take care of
Cliff.
Exxon.
Excuse
Go
me,
ahead,
Cliff.
Wayne.
Where did you study economics? I mean, you know, this is moronic what you're saying.
I
Bailed
went to a
out
place
Enron.
called the
Nobody
University of
bailed out.
Pennsylvania. They got a school called
crashed.
Wharton here.
You
may have
better
heard
go
of it.
back again because nobody bailed out
Okay.
Enron. I don't
Will
know where
you pay
you're getting
for it?
your
Will
information,
you
but
pay
that's
for it and
totally
take care of
wrong.
me? 'Cause
And
you
you
guys are
talk
also
about
sending-
you know,
guys
by the
are
way,
also
just
sending
talking
education prices up through the
over
roof, so
everybody
go
ahead,
doesn't
Wayne.
prove the
that
point.
too.
You know,
Okay, Wayne.
I'm happy to go back if you want
just
to take care of me there also. Will you want to do that?
Well, just keep talking here. Just keep talking.
Well, you
We'll
do,
figure you
so I
out
guess I'll
later.
keep talking
You
also.
know.
If you'd close your mouth for a second, maybe I can get a word in. I'll
Wayne.
go back to school. You guys,
Wayne.
you guys have sent education prices way up also. You've sent healthcare prices way up. Where else would you like to send me?
You know, you're a real idiot. That's all I can think of. I mean,
My
you know, to say something
goodness.
like
I
that.
take a lot of pleasure
Okay,
getting that kind of a comment from a
Wayne.
moron. So
Terry,
Wayne,
I think,
okay, come on,
Terry, I think we could agree to
no more
disagree
name
here.
calling, no more name calling. Jonas?
If you raise taxes on gasoline, wouldn't that cut into the big oil profits that they're concerned about? I don't understand, again, how...
Okay.
First of all the countries that do this, if you notice, they're all like dictatorships or kingdoms or communist governments. It's not a normal... Of smart governments,
They do
tax
it
gas.
to keep their people happy.
They do it because they're crazy.
they're
They want to
dictators.
be king, and that's how you make people happy. But real countries like Japan, like England, like France, they tax gas a lot. They don't subsidize it. That's what Iran, that's what Venezuela, China, all the ridiculous countries do that.
Okay, to keep people happy down on the farm. Thanks, everybody. Coming up next, well, we have the best Father's Day stocks that are going to surprise Pop, and Barack Obama pushing a plan that...
Unexpected. Usually cities identified with green.